Neste ano, o acidente de Chernobyl completa 35 anos e o de Fukushima, 10. Em tempos de emergência climática e diante das metas do Acordo de Paris a serem cumpridas pelos países signatários, a discussão sobre essa alternativa polêmica de energia ressurge com força. No especial Energia Nuclear, a Mostra Ecofalante 2021 traz 5 obras que refletem sobre essa matriz energética tão controversa e alerta para seus perigos. Um dos filmes da programação é o Desastre de Chernobyl, de 2006, do francês Thomas Johnson. Jornalista renomado, o diretor desse premiado documentário reconstrói a tragédia, as condições políticas da época e retrata também a batalha feroz contra um inimigo invisível. Um clássico do gênero que, mesmo 15 anos depois, ainda é atual e revela como, entre tantas consequências, Chernobyl foi fator fundamental para a derrocada da União Soviética. Conversamos com Thomas Johnson sobre o filme, sobre o contexto político da época e também sobre a relação entre a energia nuclear e a batalha pelo poder. E ainda sobre como a luta pela democracia e a luta pelo meio ambiente estão intimamente ligadas. E ele começou nos contando como era ser um jornalista na União Soviética em um período tão crucial da história. Confira.
It was a very, very important experience for me because I sort of realized in 1981, 1982 what was a totalitarian system, and I had to deal with it. I was followed around. I couldn't meet people. I had to have lots of strategies to be able to talk with people, meet the people, get out of the information, and so on and so forth. And then I saw it change little by little, and change, of course, with Gorbachev when he came along. So he changed a lot. And then I saw this society that had been sort of closed in for a long time, things that couldn't be told, couldn't be seen, couldn't be so on, coming out, everything coming out into the open again. And so that's why I continued following Soviet Union during all the perestroika, 86, 87 until 91, 92. And Chernobyl is a sort of turning point of this. Gorbachev had just announced glasnost and perestroika, transparency and reconstruction, when Chernobyl happened. So it was the first test. I was in Moscow at that time. I was at the Pravda, which is the great journal of the Communist Party, which means truth. And my magazine called Actuel decided to go there. We decided to go there to see, okay, he says reconstruction and perestroika and transparency, let's go into the Pravda and see what it means. And while I was there, Chernobyl happened. But I only learned about Chernobyl when I got back to France. But living through that, it is a totalitarian system. It was a totalitarian system. It was a very tough system, very tight. Everybody looked at you all the time. Friends of mine went to prison, came out of prison, and so on and so forth. And so it was tough. So you do learn what it is to be in a free country, let's say, or free society where expression is allowed. And then you sort of realize how important it is and why you have to fight for it. Really, it's very easy to lose it. It can turn around any time. Things happen in many countries, as you know. Things sort of change all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but gently, and even in the biggest of the democracies. So democracy it's never gained. You have to fight for it all the time. And mediocrity comes back all the time, Cruelty comes back all the time. It's happening in Brazil, it's happened in America, as you say, with Trump. It's happening in other countries, and you have this rise of what one can call a sort of religious nationalism, It can be Christian nationalism, it can be evangelical nationalism, it can be other kinds of nationalism. In India, the same is the same. In Russia, it's the same. In many other countries, and that is a contemporary danger, not only in Brazil, not only in America, but also in other places. And once you consider the other human being as being different and not having the same rights as you have, well, that's where things start slipping away, from democracy. And that's very dangerous. And that was established after the Second World War, as you know. Never again. I think that the lesson from Hiroshima and Nagasaki has not been yet understood. And Chernobyl was a reminder of this. I mean, science and technology bring progress, can bring progress, but can also bring catastrophe. And one of the ways for it to bring catastrophe is to hide the truth, you know. And of course, Chernobyl was hidden for a long time, but not only by Soviet Union, but by the whole world who wanted to defend nuclear energy. They wanted to defend it as, you know, it was a big technological achievement, lots of money being made, and can be very useful, can be seen as a great provider of electricity and progress and so on. But it's not only that. I cried there. You look at the countryside, you cry. You cry because it's the end of all of a sudden you see this beautiful countryside and you can't live in it anymore. It's as if the earth can't be lived in anymore. And it's like when someone dies, you know, in the name of progress, in the name of good. And that's in front of Chernobyl. You have a big statue of Prometheus. You had Prometheus, who was the god who gave light and fire to man. So okay, you have fire, but what do you do with it? What do you do with it? How do you progress as a conscious human being? And especially today, where we are in front of, as you know, global warming and so on. So it was the beginning of this. It was the beginning of the end of an illusion that science and progress are only science and knowledge is bringing technological knowledge is bringing progress for everyone. No, maybe not. Maybe you have to question this. You know, maybe there's something else to bring into account. Consciousness of what's happening. Power is, I mean, the atom bomb is power, you know, even nowadays. Constructing the atom bomb for Iran is to be able to sit at the table of the very powerful. And so this is where things are so get complicated, you know. So you are bringing an energy for the wealth of everyone, but at the same time, it means power.
How do you see this use of, you know, nuclear energy in your country, France, but also around the world?
It's dangerous. Of course, it's dangerous. People have thought that it's going to resolve all the problems of education, wealth, bring wealth to everyone in the world, and so on and so forth. It's not possible. Nuclear energy cannot resolve all the problems. It's not true. It's just not true. It's too complicated. Technology is too expensive. Not anyone can afford it. Uranium is not, there's not so much of it, and so on and so forth. So it's not possible. And then it's dangerous. And so we have to get out of this idea that nuclear energy is going to save the world. It's not going to save the world. So we were in that logic for the past 60 years, let's say, or 50 years in France. And we were the champions of this. But it's a great illusion. But slowly we have to come out of it. And that's what's happening today. We are slowly coming out of it. And at the same time, it's accompanying the change of attitude towards the planet, towards nature, the man and nature. What new equilibrium can we find, you know? So that's what's happening at the moment. One of the good things and bad things, let's say, about nuclear energy, that it brought a lot of energy, extremely great amount of electricity. And you had to consume that electricity, otherwise it's lost because you can't keep it, you know? So it pushes everyone to consume. If we want to come out of that consummation attitude, that's the most important thing. I mean, we have to sort of have another relationship to the energy that we are producing.
And you want to make a documentary about Amazon in which?
Well, I'm doing a film at the moment on the evangelical movement in the world. So as you know, it's very important in Brazil. And the relation between the evangelical world and the ecological attitude and the Amazon is also very important.
We are living in a war of narrative. I always say this, like there's this narrative, this way of telling the story, the other way of telling the story. And we are in a kind of war because we need to retell the story, you know, or retell the facts.
Yeah. After the war in 45, 46, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted, you know? And one of the first amendments on it was all men are born equal in rights. All men are born. Again and again and again, we have to come back with that idea. This idea has been sort of scattered, you know, it's been You come back to that lesson, come back to it. And Chernobyl is there for it. What's happening in Brazil, you have to come back to it. As you were saying, Indians and non-Indians are the same in rights, And if you forget that, anything can happen, Democracy can just fall, And does fall. And then if you look at Russia, you look at Hong Kong, you look at China, you look at Tunisia, you see that fighting for democracy is a tough job. I mean, people are risking their lives and dying for it now, today, at the moment, all the time, every day, It's incredible. And they are fighting for it and continuing to fight for it. And so, I mean, I live in a democratic country where you don't die for your ideas, but our duty is to be with people who are fighting for this.
Esse foi Thomas Johnson, que conversou com a gente sobre o desastre de Chernobyl, que integra o Especial Energia Nuclear aqui da Mostra Ecofalante 2021. Fique de olho que ainda vem muito filme, muito papo, muita conversa inspiradora por aí.